Hello, everyone. This is Matthew Smith, and today I am going to be talking about a couple different subjects at hand. I'm going to be talking about what happened when I was in Maine and during the summer of 1991. And then I'm also going to talk about 5 tips about what to be aware of when the month of August hits. It's hard to believe that this year we've had so many records breaking in terms of temperatures and also even the ocean readings. That was just so unbelievable. And here on the East Coast, including here in Portland, Maine, we have been having other readings about the weather being so warm and everything. But it's nothing like what we've witnessed in the South and West here in the United States. This month alone, in July, when I hear about those temperature readings and consecutive days where they have been having temperatures of blistering heat of 110 degrees during the day and even 90 degrees at night, I just think about those people and how they would take care of themselves. Because extreme heat does a lot of things to our body that we don't even realize that it's even happening. And sometimes it could be very dangerous. Now, first of all, I want to say that we here in the Northeast have been having the past couple of weeks some high humidity and some pretty high temperatures as well. So, if you put those two together, then it really feels even hotter than it really is outside. So, unfortunately, when I get home from work and when I'm with Janine in the room that we watch television and movies, I have the air conditioning on in the one place, and sometimes I use more energy than I should. And that ended up being the result of why our energy bill went a little bit higher than it should for this month. But anyway, we had a cold front that swept by on the East Coast, and some of it brought some dangerously high winds and a few storms and tornadoes. But here in Portland, Maine, when we were under those advisories, a few places had flash floods and some high rainfall, but not down here. So we're fortunate that I woke up in the morning, the air was calm and crisp, and it was dry too. So it's just like more of those mornings that I can remember with Maine, especially when we used to have our trailer, me and my family, down at Beach Acres. Now, this brings up a point that I've been meaning to do for a long time now. And last time I was mentioning about my memories of being in Maine, I was up to the year 1990. So it's been a little while, so now I'm going to mention 1991. And in 1991, I had finished my first grade year at my elementary school. In July, instead of taking vacation time right away with my parents, they had, as usual, their summer program at Wellesley College. And that was during the time when, during the day, they could still be at work with studies and their students. And I was either at home where my grandmother was taking care of me, or for a couple weeks, I was even at my local recreation park in the center of town of Burlington, where it's in dedicated memory to Marshall Simons. And Simons Park really is a beautiful place in Burlington, covering a bunch of square feet, and you could see it from all kinds of directions nearby, from Cambridge Street on Route 3 to a side street. And going there every day with being with other campers and counselors, we would either do field trips around to the town of Burlington, like the fire and the police department, or go bowling at our local bowling center at the time, the Brunswick Bowlaway. And many times I remember that place for a lot of memories until the bowling center closed down in 2002. But typical days at Club Simons, which is now called, They would involve lots of programs for the kids and the counselors to just have a good time and do some lots of local activities and some crafts. And by the time I was past first grade, I had a nice 6 hour day from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I would have lunch with the rest of them right by the patio, watching the tennis courts. And then we also get a half-hour recess on the playground at Simon's Park. But then we would all come together after our meal, and the counselors would sing some interesting camp and children's songs. A few of them I still have stuck in my head, and I like to sing them even out loud when I am working at my current job right now. So, and then we conclude with the official Club Simon song, and it's sung in the style of Barry Manilow's hit Copacabana, where it says music and good times, like that, where it's all in places of the line music and passion. We're always a fashion at the Copa. So that's how it would go. But then when August came around in our old days, when the program at Wellesley College would end, then I spent a lot more time at home with my parents. And we would spend more weekends in our trailer at Wells Beach. And in 1991, we didn't really go too far on vacation. So we spent some extended time there. One weekend we had was when we had our family members come for a lobster feast. And unfortunately, I remember that very day, it could have been something I ate the night before, or I just had dirty hands from my bad habit, which I'm not going to explain right now because that would make you guys think I still have it or something. So anyway, I was a little sick that day and I was vomiting, so I had to stay in bed while the rest of the game were eating lobster. But I did learn how to break open and enjoy lobster that summer anyway. And it tastes great with some drawn butter and corn on the cob. But in August, in addition to spending time where we were on in our trailer, we visited a couple of places in eastern part of Maine nearby New Brunswick, Canada. I think we spent one day in Lubec and another in the eastern port, and then we spent time at the Bar Harbor Inn. But then later on, what happened on that August day, we actually got Hurricane Bob in our area. And the eye of the hurricane at one point was in the center of downtown Boston before it drifted eastbound. But when that day happened, then most the folks at Beach Acres, they had to evacuate because the high winds would destroy the trees and do other kinds of damage to property. So what happened was my mother and grandmother just went home to our home in Burlington for the time being. And my father took me to this motel that was in the town of Sanford, Maine. And it was a good place, but I did learn my lesson the hard way with going out to dinner and leaving the door open to my father's Plymouth Voyager minivan. But the next day, my father took me bowling at the Bowlorama for the first time. And that was where I met the owner, a camping bowler named Owen Martin. First couple shots, I was a little bit off key and I wanted to feel upset, but I soon settled down and I learned that the bowling center for Saturday mornings had a 5-string special. And I would take full advantage of that from then on when I go to Maine on Saturdays and I wanted to go bowling. It would be something that my father would do it probably around like 9:30 or 10. And he would be listening to his favorite program, which was on WBUR called Car Talk. That's a show with the Tappet brothers, Click and Clack, and they would talk about all kinds of vehicles that owners had in the market. And it really had some fun topics to mention. So that's why my father liked the radio station, and he was laughing as much as he could with that. So that basically was an extended period in August of 1991 when I was spending with my family in Wells, Maine. And a couple other memorable things about that vacation. We had a local channel system called, at that time, New England Cablevision, which eventually was a Time Warner Maine Cable, eventually. But most of the time, they would have a local radio talk on that, feeling with some announcements. But when a certain time came, several times a day, there would be two programs based on the cable network that would feature some great options and places to visit around York, Algonquin, and Wells. And one program was the Southern Maine Dining Guide, which kind of was local programming to where you could eat and what types of specials are on the menu and what the restaurant provided. But another one was Guide to the Seacoast, which offered not only restaurants, but also recreation and accommodations to stay and the beaches, obviously, why they were so spectacular and fun to visit. So we had a VHS tape of that, and my father obviously recorded it for me. And I think the day he recorded it was August 22nd, which was shortly after Hurricane Bob hit the Northeast. Luckily, Dad and I were safe, and the property at Beach Acres didn't do too much damage, especially to our old trailer. So, as a matter of fact, before I move on to my next topic, I want to show you a funny picture right here. Who is that little guy wrapped up in the sleeping bag and really enjoying himself on the porch? No, it's not this picture right here with my mom kissing me. That was a different time. I think first grade, when I got my 5-star general for accumulating my reading time as student of the month. That was a good achievement then. But this picture right here, where I have my sleeping bag, that's how I slept on nights in our trailer where we had 2 twin beds, where I would sleep in the same area with my grandmother. So it was very comfy, and I got to sleep often on the left side where I would be watching the sunrise in the morning. And most often, if it was 7 o'clock, then I would wake my father up, and both of us would go out to get the newspaper, and he would then give me an opportunity to have a bottle of chocolate milk, and he would get coffee and another beverage, and then we would go for a drive along Atlantic and Riverside Avenue in Wells, Maine, nearby Wells Beach, just to see some the harbor and was floating near the jetty. But it's nothing like I have been seeing lately in Portland. I've been seeing in Portland the ferries going up to places such as Peaks Island and Shebang Island. I sent one Windjammer cruise, and most notably, I've seen multiple cruises that are based on the American cruise ships, such as the American Constitution, and also I've seen 2 Holland American cruise lines lined up at the harbor, and going to the promenade where I see one of them on their final destination on their itinerary. Picture I took last week, that is a very stunning view. And one of those pictures I took also was a little bit of grass where I found one of those cottontail rabbits. So I have those pictures saved, and that's so you know the difference. Now, to change the subject at hand, I want to tell you 5 things to be aware of when the month of August comes. Now, first of all, we have the relief from all this heat we've been having in July. So we're going to see and feel a little bit of that crisp feel of September coming along the way. But there are more things that August is like other than that. First of all, August is the day where, or the month is where there are no national holidays at all. At least not here in the United States. Maybe in Canada or somewhere else, but not here in the United States. Two, the everything is going to be open for the season still in summer until Labor Day, which this year falls on September 4th. So if you guys have not done anything like that with your family members yet this summer, now is still a time to do it. You could go to any amusement parks or fall festival, any festivals that are nearby around here in Maine. Or you could just go on vacation somewhere if you haven't already. One of those options may be those cruise ships that are parting right now in Portland, and they may take you to New Brunswick, Canada, or Nova Scotia, places like that. And if you're going to watch television on this month of August, be aware that most of the programs that we see during the season, they're all in reruns now. Just this Friday, we had our season finale of season 39 of Jeopardy with host Ken Jennings. So that and Wheel of Fortune aren't going to start until maybe September 11th or 18th, but I'm going to look at the TV listings for that. And also, you're going to notice that sunsets are going to eventually occur right before 8 o'clock now, with each day getting narrow and narrow. And then you're going to see the difference between that and what it was like in June and July. So, and also, it's going to be a little bit later when the sun's going to start to come up. So, it's nothing that is going to feel at all kind of different. But if you like to go out late at night and you like the dark nightlife, then good for you. And finally, keep in mind that all places that are open for the summer are going to also have some of those places that are going to shut their hours down a little bit sooner with shorter days. But like I said, some places that I've heard of don't close their season entirely until right after Labor Day weekend. And of course, late in August is where schools are going to be opening up again. And then I think August 21st, my old hometown is going to have practices for football for the high schoolers beginning their season again. And of course, during August, we have lots of sports still going on. We have the Women's World Cup Soccer, and we have lots of golf. We have baseball. We have the Little League World Series. And look for your listings for the preseason NFL games that are coming up. Because when September comes, it's after Labor Day, the seasons are going to be in session, and then we'll start the college football season, which is going to dominate on Saturday afternoons and evenings. So I hope you all have a good day, and keep in mind it's still midsummer, so there's still lots of time to get out and enjoy it. So thanks all. Have a good rest of the day.